just wanted you to watch me dissolve slowly in a pool full of your love. But I don't even know how the chemistry works when your poolside kicking in the dirt, kicking in the sand and stirring up trouble. Can't find an exit. I wander in a maze alone. If I find you, will you shock me? Left and right. Pretty sure that I've been here before, and it isn't what I wanted. I just wanted you to watch me dissolve slowly in a pool full of your love. But I don't even know how the chemistry works when your poolside kicking in the dirt, kicking in the sand and stirring up trouble. Your voice like an angel, been chain smoking all month long, like you're someone I believe in. Am I only elaborate? Someone you can test things on. This isn't what I signed up for. I just wanted you to. I just wanted. I just wanted you to watch me dissolve slowly in a pool full of your love. But I don't even know how the chemistry works when your poolside kicking in the dirt, kicking in the sand and stirring up trouble. I just wanted you to watch me dissolve.
Imagivators, assemble. Good morning. I'm so glad to have you all here. Dave on bass, 32. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Yeah, there are plenty of bad idea themed usernames. You can always you can hot swap that in Twitch at some point. Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be back here with you. We missed Imagivating yesterday morning, just based on the schedule, and as I've mentioned before, it's gonna be somewhat eclectic. But we had a really great time on Tuesday. We've got a lot of great stuff in store for you as we round out the week. I think we should just get right down into it. One thing I will say: thank you for coming to Twitch to watch the stream. Made an executive decision. It's not a permanent thing exactly, but instead of trying to simulcast to YouTube Live to try to get more people in from more of the normies in to the stream. We just decided to kind of double down on Twitch for right now and see if that works. One thing that I do want to note, if you tell friends to come visit, and I hope you do, hope you spread the word. It seems like it's starting to proliferate. Let them know. I'm pretty sure in chat, maybe you can double check this for me if you came in before you actually had an account or were logged in. I think you actually can watch the stream without being logged in. I don't think there's any limitation to actually viewing the stream live or even archived, but you're not going to be able to participate in chat. So if you're watching this and you just have decided not to pull the trigger on a Twitch account, totally get it. But let folks know that I think you can watch the stream, and we'll be monitoring Twitter during the stream as well. So if you want to try to participate with tweets, it may be a little bit harder for me to get to them, but you're welcome to do that as well. And of course, if you have my phone number, as many of you probably do, feel free to text me. That might work as well. Well, let's get right down to it, shall we? We were moving quickly on Imagivate. Live, we've also got other shows that are starting to come to life under the Imagivate channel, but it's all thanks to you for being amazing participants. Shepherd Josh, welcome. Oh, Imagipation. He's shaking with Imagipation. Well, I hope we can deliver. And thank you for that portmanteau. There will be plenty. There will be a plenty of portmanteaus ahead. So where do we go from here? Well, every morning we'd like to kind of just run down on the schedule, and I'm going to try and make sure that this stuff stays pretty visible outside of the stream as well, so that we don't miss each other. But it's Thursday today. We are Imagivating live. We're going to Imagivate hard, so hard this morning together, and I'm really excited because we're going to start teasing our first special guest in just a moment. That guest who will be on tomorrow. I don't want to disappoint anybody, but I'm already anticipating it, eagerly anticipating it. So we'll be playing around with some of that this morning. And then tonight we're going to try this. It's the Thinkabator. A lot of people have been asking me, are you going to play the game Real Actual People Royale? I will not. I shan't. It doesn't exist yet. That's what we're doing. We're actually going to Thinkabate a terrible idea. We're going to let it stew. We're going to spend some time doing some long form terrible ideation together. And so what we're actually going to do tonight, starting at 6:30, is start taking a look at what could this game be and start working on it together. I've got some ideas, but I really am interested in kind of lifting the hood, spreading it all out there, and then actually long form development of a terrible idea just to see what it yields. It's an experiment. We'll see what happens. Tomorrow morning, Friday morning, get ready for some Imagivation. My first special guest is Matt Bledsoe. He is the co-founder of Big Fat Brain, the studio that we ran together for about 5 or 6 years, a long time ago. We had some terrible ideas at that company, really terrible ideas. And so there's nobody better to kick off my guest segment tomorrow morning than Matt. He'll be joining us for the 8:30 show. And also, he may or may not be in the chat with us today as well. I don't know if I necessarily want to call him out with his clever, bad, terrible idea username. But we have a history of terrible ideas. And some of those terrible ideas actually came to form, were manifested into the real world. Some of those terrible ideas actually were very, very successful. Many of them were not. And so I wanted to share one of them with you that was not. This is a little haunting, but I thought it would be important to kind of bring it up as we anticipate the arrival of Matt tomorrow morning. Early on in Big Fat Brain, we had a client that was trying to break through to kids to get them to be more active and to get them to exercise. And so we sold this client on a terrible idea that was basically, let's create the worst satire of a public broadcast television show for kids about trying to get them to move, and it was called Groovy Movals. And so I'm going to show you the intro video to that, of this terrible idea, and hopefully everything will be working. You'll be able to see this in all of its glory.
Groovy Movals is made possible by a generous grant from the Millard Kidporium.
Who's that shuffling down the street? Exercising their hearts out to the beat with a healthy heap and handful of smoke. Don't stop, it's the Groovy Movals. We weren't fooling, they're grooving and moving. Don't stop, it's the Groovy Movals. They're gonna make you really feel great.
That's right.
They're obligated to ensure you feel great.
Yeah.
So Groovy Movable, cause we're already late.
That's right.
Hey,
So I think I think you can see right down here that that video is 13 years old, and it has 3,000 views. It was a terrible idea. It was a terrible campaign. It was a terrible use of marketing dollars at the time. But you live and learn in this crazy creative world, right? And we learned a lot from that terrible idea. We learned not to make videos assuming that they would be viral for clients who don't have any marketing support dollars to put against it. And that's a really great lesson for all of you to learn. There's no such thing as just creating a viral video, as we learned the hard way several times, actually, for clients, for paying clients who were expecting us to deliver results. And there's some good reasons why Big Fat Brain doesn't exist today. Doesn't exist in its original form. Well, anyway, I'm looking forward to having Matt on tomorrow morning. I really hope you'll join us. A lot of you are friends with Matt. You've worked with him. It's going to be a ton of fun. And actually, I do have to say, thanks to Matt, he has been part of this entire early run-up of Imagivate Live, helping me pilot, helping me do technology tests and stuff. So I'm really glad to have him be on board. And if it works out, who knows? Maybe we'll invite him back. Maybe we'll have a recurring slot for Matt Bledsoe. All right. Well, let's get down to some Imagivating, because that's what you came here for, right? But the first thing I want to ask you, just before we dive into it, is what's the most terrible idea you've ever floated? You know, we yesterday we talked about, are you going to make terrible ideas today? And actually, I would ask you, chat, did you on Tuesday, did you come up with some terrible ideas? My guess was that you would have 0 terrible ideas because you're very smart, creative, problem-solving people. But you just probably didn't give yourself time to come up with a terrible idea. It was actually sort of a vulnerable thing for me to share Groovy Movals with you, because that was a lesson hard learned. And, you saw the 4x3, homegrown Final Cut Pro production quality friends that we cast in the show. That was terrible. That was a terrible idea, but it was fun, and we had a really great time, and we learned a lot from it. What's the most terrible idea you've ever floated? If you want to share that with me in the stream, I would love to know. But I'd like you to, at the very least, think about it today, and maybe even next week when we get together again, maybe share some, and you could tweet those to me. You could post them on LinkedIn, wherever you're kind of accessing the show, because I want to start to understand how we all think about terrible ideas. And we're going to do that together right now. Why don't we, so in the spirit of Groovy Movals, I thought, thematically speaking, we could try to solve a problem. I think during the pandemic, it's been exacerbated beyond what we even thought it could be. And that's just maybe the crisis of kids not really getting out and exercising, ambulating. As we know, if you're a parent of children, they're strapped to their devices. They hole up in a basement, playing Call of Duty Warzone Season 6, trying to grind and unlock the AS Val or the SPR 208. They're really deeply committed to the video games that they're playing. How do we get kids to go outside? But we've got a slight challenge, haven't we? Let's go to the Imagivate slide here. I'll write our brief down so we can all follow along. How do we get kids to de-chunk? How do we get them to ambulate? In this world, when we know that, you know, kids are going to have to probably wear a mask while they do it, right? And if it's outside, and there's stuff that we can think about inside, but we have to think about the current world. We also have to think about social distancing, right? These are major concerns that I think would have a big impact on some of the ideas we come up with. Okay, lace. Here come the terrible ideas. Great job, Shepherd Josh. Lace the masks with crystal meth. Okay, so that's surely going to get some of those kids moving, tweaking. Hey, you know what we can do? How do we get kids to de-chunk, ambulate? I'm going to put it here just in case to tweak. Dave, we met when you were a video editor on a commercial that basically went all in on the headhunter double meaning. Yes, of course, we have heritage together making terrible ideas. I suspect many of us do. Shepherd Josh, you, my friend, you just came up with the first terrible idea. Congratulations. Bam. So wait, but before we dive into the ideation exactly just yet, and if they're flowing, I'm not going to stop them from flowing. Let's capture them. But what are some other things that we need to consider in 2020 and beyond for trying to get kids to get up and move around? So we talked about what's happening, pandemic wise. What are some other things to consider? I would maybe say that social media has never been more thick in their lives, nefariously embedded in their entire conscious structure. So that's something we have to keep in mind, and maybe actually as a leverage point for how we might get them moving. We've got S Singer N. Electric shock them every 90 minutes. That's a terrible idea. You know, one of the guide rails I wanted to give on Imagivation was that we just would try not to hurt people. But you know what? I just decided there are no rules with Imagivation. Electroshock is certainly a viable, terrible idea solution. Bam. Sugary drinks are highly profitable. Yep. So we can definitely be considering sugar ingestion and maybe historically in calculable proportions. Set up a fake bank for them to rob. Face masks are all part of the fun. Thanks, Thought Worst. All right. So mask could lead to masked activities, right? So bank robbery. Vigilantism. Boy, I think you get a lot of exercise being a vigilante. And then Shepherd Josh, of course, jumping in. Why fake? Why a fake bank? Let's do real bank robbery. I don't hate it. I'll be honest with you. And it's an economy stimulator. So an actual kid on the stream suggested create a fake power outage and disconnect the Wi-Fi so the kids get so bored they can't help but play outside. Wow, okay. Hey, you know what? Actually, that's something you could do. We could maybe partner with Nest, let's say. Partnership that says, yeah, you know, every 3 hours, power goes down. Or maybe you jack up the heat, right, to flush the kids outside. I like that. Partnership with Nest. And thanks to the kids that have joined the stream. Please don't let them actually watch it. I don't know that this meets the parent standards. Outside is cold, hot. Yep, full of bugs. Okay, that's a consideration. Thank you. And so as we were thinking about like forcing kids outside, you know, there are nature's, you know, own sort of friction points. I think we have to keep in mind. Okay, great, awesome, and creepy adults. Thanks, Dave on bass. There are surely creepy adults out there, and that also might be part of the fun as we get them to move. And then another consideration from S. Singer N. They're being required to be on devices for school more than ever before, so it feels validated to be plugged in. That's true. That is actually, that's a really great thing because they've just gotten permission, right, to sit in front of these screens. That's potential. That's a potential problem. Oops, sorry. Still getting used to this. So let's jot that down. So, school permission to be on screens, right? Kidnapping as a service. Van comes to their house, kidnaps them, and they have to find their way back home on their own. Shepherd Josh, I think you actually just triggered the creepy adult alert on this, but let's just jot it down. We'll put it over here in the Shepherd Josh territory. And I don't want to stop those from coming, but this stream may be being watched by authorities, so I just want to let you know. Kidnapping as a service, okay? So sort of like a gig economy kind of thing. Hey, do you have some extra time? Don't drive for Uber. Kidnap people. Okay, so this is great. We've got. Talk to me about social media. What are some ways that we could utilize social media in terrible ways to get kids to get up and moving? How about, so maybe there's, this isn't surely getting into terrible territory yet, but gamification, right? So we talked about being able to switch off HVAC or power altogether. That idea coming in from a kid herself, which is very exciting. By the way, I know most of you. I think I'm not going to call you out by your real names. That's something we can get comfortable with as we go along. I'll leave it up to you to decide, but I kind of have a sense of who's who. However, part of the fun of this is that we can all be quasi-anonymous as we kind of come up with terrible ideas. Terrible ideas, it's a sketchy space to be emotionally. It's a place where, throwing out those terrible ideas. But I'll tell you, see, this is the whole point. If you are about to get into some sort of intense ideation, collaboration, there's no better way to break the ice. There's no better way to make people feel comfortable letting things come out of their mouths than to give them permission to come up with terrible ideas. And that's why I don't want to, outside of just being sort of teasy, Shepherd Josh, about how absolutely creepy your stuff has been, it's important that we let room for terrible ideas like that to come out. Because what this did, by the way, was it just brought up the idea of gig economy, right? That might not have come out of any of this conversation that we just had. So, in fact, I'm going to ask that you be thinking, and I'm hoping that things are queuing up in the chat right now around social media. What are some things that we could utilize? Maybe there's TikTok dances that are extra strenuous. Create outdoor 5G zones they have to find in order to log into social media accounts. Actually, I think that's happening right now. Can you find a 5G zone? But that's excellent, because if you could get them, give them the chance to go hunt down high bandwidth content that they can only stream in a 5G zone. I like that a lot. So maybe that'll be another kind of partnership idea. We partner with T-Mobile, Sprint, your leading 5G provider, 5G zones to drive kids to better connectivity. I like that a lot. What about the gig economy? Let's assume that kidnapping as a service probably not going to happen. But what are some things that you've got idle time with Uber drivers, or you have Instacart shoppers that have time in between their runs? How about Instacart internships? Internscart. Put kids on grocery collection duty at grocery stores. You get a cluster of children that go with every Instacart shopper, and imagine how quickly they could fill those shopping carts. You've got kids sprinting all over stores. Instacart internship. That is a terrible idea. They would never go for that. Uber Rickshaw edition. Excellent. So kid-powered otherwise non-motorized vehicles as part of an Uber initiative to get kids moving. I like it a lot. Red Bike plus DoorDash partnership. Awesome. Red Bike, Red Trike. How about a partnership with Red Bike for kids on big wheels and scooters delivering DoorDash? That's awesome. I like that a lot. Dave on bass. Little Beef at Brain has replaced sidewalk panels with trampolines. Every fourth sidewalk panel is a trampoline. Sidewalk trampolines. A terrible idea. Imagine the liability of that. Holy cow. Okay. S. Singer says your TikTok video gets extra visibility. Awesome. So now we're impacting the algorithm. If your heart rate while recording is in or beyond a certain zone. Damn, that's actually a great idea. That's a great, terrible idea. Yeah, TikTok heart rate, live heart rate monitoring. Nice. Yep, and Dave on bass threw in, you could partner with Garmin. That's a great idea. So that's a partnership kind of thing up here. Like that a lot. Yeah, that's a great one. Your internet bandwidth is increased based on how long you've had an increased heart rate. That's awesome. Okay, so hey kids, we're going to extend your sort of screen time. Is that kind of where you're going, Shepherd Josh? Or you're actually talking about bandwidth. So you actually could move up in segments of bandwidth, although you could also be doing some fencing or sort of throttling of just access to the internet altogether, right? Apple Watch plus physical shock, like a dog collar, if you don't close your rings. Yeah, forget about incentivizing. Let's just punish people who aren't closing their rings. I think that's a really good one, Little Beef Fat Brain. Electricity generating exercise bikes, that's a good one too. We're actually going to start powering. Maybe what you do is you get credits from your power company or carbon credits maybe for all of the energy that your kids are outputting. I like that a lot. There's something really cool about heart rate as, sort of a currency for part of this kind of value exchange, which is really, really interesting and not so terrible. S. Singer, sorry. I don't think that it's not a terrible idea. I don't know what to say. If your heart explodes, you get your own memorial emoji. So you're basically creating, and what you mean by that, Thought Worst, is you would actually be commemorated in the fixed like ASCII emoji collection because you drove your activity so far that you made your heart explode. I think that's a terrible idea. Okay, so there we go. Heart rate into emoji memorialization. Terrible idea. You know what? You know what just happened right there? We just had we had somebody sweep in with a really great idea, S. Singer, and then everybody kind of crashed in and crowdsourced it into a terrible idea. And that's what this is all about. Well, my goodness. The time just flies on this thing. I know that doing 30 minutes together is probably the best for us just to kind of get... This is great, though, isn't it? This is fun to kind of get revved up into real thinking activity. We're talking. I'm talking. I'm talking. I suspect that you are talking probably too. Maybe you're talking to your kids. You're back channeling on the other side. Maybe you're just talking out loud as you're thinking through this stuff. Maybe you're driving right now and yelling at other drivers. That counts. But one way or another, I think it's really awesome that we're experiencing together what this is intended to do, and that's just stimulate great thinking. Anybody got any other last takers as we hit our final minutes here? I do think that there's something to be said about, some sort of ambient environment control that can regulate how you stimulate your kids to either be outside or inside. Interesting. Maybe terrible. Maybe terrible if you are at risk of, impacting their safety. Love it. That's exactly what we're looking for. Terrible idea. We talked about integrating heart rate with social media. So how do you either incentivize kids to be able to like impact the algorithm with whether or not you reached a certain heart rate threshold? It's actually a great idea. All the way up to emoji memorialization for those who died. Off to the side, we've got a ton of terrible ideas from Shepherd Josh around really just impugning the safety of children, and I think that's part of the Imagivate universe, is that we do spend a little time doing the stuff that makes us feel kind of gacky, right? I hope you felt gacky when he brought some of those up. I did. I felt pretty gross. But that's, man, if we don't get the gross stuff out, what are we missing? And again, kidnapping as a service drove us to the gig economy, and a really terrible, but maybe actually kind of cool idea, which is creating grocery shopping swarms of tweens who are, for pennies on the dollar, collecting people's groceries. I do think we have probably some sort of health safety concern there. So again, terrible idea, having a bunch of kids running around the grocery touching your food before it is delivered to you. Terrible. And then, of course, we had just some weird stuff about like using the mask to stimulate, again, probably irreverent, maybe even illegal activity. So that's great. Yes, Dickensian indeed, thought worst. That's exactly how I would describe everything that we just did. Very Dickensian. Charles Dickens would be proud of us having orphans running around, touching people's food, having children's safety impacted just for us to be able to try to make them healthier. How ironic that that's really where a lot of this stuff would go. But kids, this is how we're thinking about your health and well-being. We are willing to go to extreme places to ensure that you are in an optimal weight, nutrition place in your young, still forming lives. It's just because we care about you, and that's what we do on Imagivate Live. We figure out how to help children. So, folks, wow, what a great morning! Thank you. This is what I always dreamed Imagivate Live could be. Always dreamed it since 11 days ago when I came up with the idea, and having this kind of activity, I hope it's good stimulus for you heading into the day. Don't let it stop here. You can tweet at Imagivate, pop in the LinkedIn, leave some more of these ideas. Actually, what I'm going to do is maybe grab what we did here, highlight a few things and post it out there, and then maybe you can add to it if you come up with additional ideas. But in the meantime, if you're around this evening, join me for our first experimental Thinkubator. We're going to be diving into that 100-person Battle Royale card game, real actual people Royale. And then tomorrow morning, Thought Worst on deck for Matt Bledsoe, special guest. We have never done it before. It's going to be a technical odyssey. It's going to be a ton of fun, and I can't wait to get together with Matt and do all of this with another voice in the room. But you got to come back in and help us out. Well, that's it. Everybody, great job. Lots of terrible ideas. I hope you have a wonderful day, and Imagivate in between.